In this episode of Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, I sit down with Flip from Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial to talk all about gaming and podcasts. Then we'll see what's on Kickstarter, but first, a message about our sponsors. This episode of Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf is proudly being powered by Toresh Games, who are bringing Serpent Master back to Kickstarter the first of next month. Serpent Master is a card-driven abstract board game for 1 to 4 players where a player must keep their serpent on top to win. Plus, they're doing a giveaway with us, or a few of them in fact, over there at thegiveawaygeek.com. Enter today and back their Kickstarter on the 1st of August.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. Today we've got a special treat for you. As you know, a lot of times I have Kickstarter creators and other game designers on this show, but today we have a lucky treat for you. Somebody from another podcast. And we actually have Flip Flory from Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial. Hopefully I got that right, Flip. Is that right?
Congratulations! You're part of the lucky few that actually get the entire title on the first take.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, I just put it in my phone and then haven't really paid much attention to it since then. But yeah, I really like the show. Now, before we get into that and everything you're doing for the board game industry, let's rewind a little bit if we could, Flip. How did you get into playing tabletop board games?
I've always been a gamer pretty much all of my life. So yeah, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I always was interested in gaming. I had the original Dark Tower. I played the crap out of that. I loved Scotland Yard. That was a Spiel des Jahres winner as well. I dabbled in D&D a little bit here and there. But in the early 90s, I started playing Magic the Gathering. And I actually met my wife of 21 years playing Magic. So it holds a special place in my heart. And I played that pretty heavily with me and my roommates. Started in the Ice Age, ironically enough. But so, yeah, in the mid-90s, when the board game revolution started ramping up with a little thing called Catan and Carcassonne, I was lucky to be in a community of gamers that kind of was always checking these things out. So I got in pretty early as far as the modern game renaissance. And I've been pretty much hip deep since.
So did you amass a collection, I imagine?
Yes. I was fortunate. Like I said, I met my wife, or my future wife, playing Magic. So she is a gamer as well. So I'm one of these fortunate couples that both of us are gamers. And so yeah, we both enable each other. So we've amassed, I think we maybe have about 300 somewhere around there games in our house right now.
And I imagine you've played them all?
You're a funny guy. No, we actually a little before New Year's, we sat down and we compiled a list of all the unplayed games in our collection, and we kind of resolved to get them played. And I think the list, there's only about 40 games on that list. So that's pretty respectable considering what our collection is. So yeah, we're slowly knocking them off.
Yeah, you're doing better than us, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's tough, finding the games or finding the time to do it. Also, you want to play your favorites and you want to try new stuff. So yeah. But you also don't want to get rid of these games that you take in. They're like little orphans, like little orphan kittens and puppies that you don't want to throw out in the street.
Yeah, they say it's pretty rough to pick your favorite child, or you shouldn't necessarily do that. So if they are orphans or whatnot, if you had to pick one, what would you say your favorite game in your collection would be, Flip?
Well, that's easy. My favorite game, of course, my top 3 is ever shifting, I would say. But my favorite game is Blood Bowl. I love that game just because it has all the right elements. It's got a bit of fantasy. It's got dice rolling. It's chaotic, and it evolves. It's the first game that really got to me because you form a team. It can be it's a fantasy football based game. So by fantasy I mean like elves and orcs and halflings and rat people and mummies, things like that. And this team, after each game, you you can gain abilities, you can gain powers, you can get injuries, there can be deaths. So your team is always evolving. And I absolutely loved that. And I fell in love with it. And you can run leagues with it and have an ongoing storyline. It was just super, super cool. So yeah, Blood Bowl. It's a fun game. You should give it a shot if you ever chance. It might not be for you, but it just struck the right chord with me.
Awesome. Did I see that Simon did a game similar to that recently?
There have been a lot of different like Blood Bowl esque games. Like let me think. I'm trying to think of some of the other games. There is I think there's one called Dread Ball, and there's Blitz Ball, and there's a bunch of different imitators. But the original, I would, in as far as the original in my book, is Blood Bowl. It's been around since like the mid '80s, and there's leagues out there have been like consistently running seasons and competitions since the mid '80s.
Awesome. I'm constantly seeing new miniatures come across Kickstarter for different teams you can get and whatnot.
That is true. I mean, it is made by Games Workshop, and Games Workshop is Games Workshop, and they're gonna Games Workshop, which is totally great because, you know, that's fine. A lot of people have opinions about Games Workshop, but they put out some great product. They have a great storyline. They have a great universe that they've built. And there are other people that make Blood Bowl esque type teams, but they're not officially Blood Bowl. And I might have bought a few of those over the years, but yeah, it's there's just a lot of good stuff going on, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just that's what it boils down to.
Well, that's good to hear. The good to hear. And from listening to your podcast, the current one you have or whatnot, it sounds like you've had a lot of fun. Am I right that you were a clown, like a clown at one point?
Yes. Actually, in the mid 90s, I kind of took a job on a whim and I became a professional birthday party clown. And I've done that for well over 20 years. So, yeah, it was kind of surprising to me, but I already knew how to juggle and I already knew how to do a little bit of magic. So I just kind of practiced juggling more and I practiced magic more and learned about balloon twisting and makeup and costumes, and it was a very rewarding career. So yeah, I was a professional birthday party clown for a very long time.
Are you still doing it, or
Well, I just recently moved. I went back to school and I got a degree in computers, and I took a job in New Hampshire, so I moved down there, and then I moved back to Southern Maine here. So I'm kind of in a new area where nobody knows me as a clown. So yeah, I haven't clowned in probably about a year and a half. But it's one of those things that it's in your bones. It just doesn't go away. So I'm sure I'll be twisting balloons and juggling and doing magic tricks in no time. But right now I'm in an area where nobody knows about my secret past. So
oh boy, secret identity, keep it hidden. Another secret identity you have is that of a board game podcaster. Let's rewind a little bit from where we are now. Didn't you have like a pretty famous show, from what I've heard, Flip the Table or something or another?
that's right. My good friend Chris Michaud, he came to me. Man, it's almost like 7 years ago now. Actually, wow, it seems like forever ago. But he came to me and he said, "Hey, I got this idea for a show. I'd like you to be on it. Would you like to try it out?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do this." And his inspiration was he wanted to take the board games that no self-respecting gamer would be caught dead playing, and we would play them, and then we would talk about them, talk about ways we might improve them, and then we would have a battle of wits where we would just basically do a trivia type contest against each other based on the topic of the game that we played. And that show ran for 5 years, 111 episodes, and it was fantastic. It really I mean, I wouldn't say I was a super serious gamer at that time, but I didn't play a lot of crap. That show forced me to go way outside of my comfort zone. But when I did that, I I experienced a lot of games that really surprised me, like the McDonald's board game from 1975. Straight up a really good game. It was so surprising to me. It's and like Heartthrob, a teenage slumber party game for girls from 1988, I think. Playing that game with adults at conventions is always a blast. And these are things I never would have touched if I didn't do that show. So yeah, Flip the Table. It was had a great run. And it's one of those podcasts you can go back and listen to, and it's still just as good today. It's still as fresh today as it was when it came out. So yeah, it's an evergreen podcast. You can definitely check it out. You can find it at tableflipsu.com.
And I want to say most recently in Apple Podcasts, I might have seen it in the top for board games or hobbies or something. I think it's been a little while, but I want to say it was in the top somewhere there.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked on the ratings for that show in quite a while, but that wouldn't surprise me. It's definitely had some staying power, which is great because Chris, he put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that show. He is a stickler for editing and producing quality material. So yeah, and it shows. And me and Chris and Professor Barter and Jared, we just had a good chemistry, I think, and I think we had a unique enough of a spin that made it different than every other show that just did reviews of games or whatnot. So yeah, I think that's why it's had the staying power that it's had.
Well, there you go. And then you left that after 5 years, and you weren't out of the podcast game too long, were you?
No, I mean, I definitely had the podcast bug, and I really enjoyed producing content. And I'm kind of I'm a pretty creative person myself. I always like have some sort of project going on. So yeah, after Flip the Table wrapped up, I took a little bit of time off just because I had gotten a new job and I was concentrating on that. But I took my resources that I had and I poured them all into creating a new podcast. And I created Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial.
Awesome, and I really love it. It's been, like I said earlier, it's been a while since I listened to this show, but from what I've heard, I really liked it. I probably caught the first 20 or 30 episodes before I no longer had a commute to and from work, which kind of cut down on my podcast listening, but I really liked it. You always go to Board Game Land, and you used to have a big wheel that people would spin and like retheme games and stuff.
That's true. I mean, and creating my own podcast, it was definitely a different challenge because I'm a solo host. And I didn't have like three other hosts or a panel there to build a chemistry and play off of each other so much. So I had to come up with a gimmick. And my original gimmick, I wanted just to concentrate on the fun in board games and the things that I really liked. And one of the things I really like to do is I like to look at games and think about how can I retheme this to make it different or maybe even cooler. So the first season I ran with that. I had two wheels and my guests would come on and they'd spin the gamification wheel and the rethemification wheel. And we would take a game like Battlestar Galactica and we'd retheme it with Monopoly or like a Power Grid with Smurfs or something like that. And we just kind of had fun with it.
Yeah, most definitely. Did you have a favorite one that came out of the big wheels?
Yeah, man, there were a few that Battlestar Galactica and Monopoly was pretty surprising. Galaxy Trucker rethemed with Thomas the Tank Engine. That was a very fun conversation, and that's something I actually would have liked to seen to be put together. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with that formula, but that formula is fun, but doing it every week because I wanted to be consistent and release an episode every Saturday, it was just a little bit too heavy for every Saturday. So going into season 2, I decided to concentrate more on just the fun in board gaming. So we're looking at games that are out there and we just talk about what's fun about them. And I added a little bit more of a gaming element to it. So each week I put the guest through a game at the end of the show, much like Battle of Wits, but it's called Game Time.
Most definitely, and I don't know when it'll come out or when this will come out, but I was recently able to be a guest on there, so that was kind of fun.
That you were, sir. And I'm not going to reveal how you fared in game time, but it was pretty dramatic.
Yeah, right down to the last minute. But yeah, like we won't give any spoilers or anything. They'll have to jump on over there and listen as soon as we have the episode number. We'll make sure we share that with people and everything. But yeah, so I really like what you're doing over there. You've had quite a few guests. You interview almost everybody over there, it seems like.
Yes, I think I have. Yeah, I've managed. I've been fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate with being involved with Flip the Table. I definitely had a foot in the door with the game industry. So I made a lot of friends, and I just basically put the call out and I said, "Hey, I'm starting a podcast." And now I just contract different friends around the industry, and I end up exploring more podcasts and other designers and stuff, and getting my pod feet out there to or my pod feet, was that the right analogy? I don't know. I reaching out there to talk to more people in the industry. It's been quite an adventure.
Most definitely. So somebody wants to. There's always new podcasts coming out and stuff. Somebody wants to get their feet or their pod feet, like you talked about. Any suggestions you'd give them?
I gotta say, you need to educate yourself about how to create a podcast. First of all, about the technical side of it, like how to record, what to record with, um, stuff like that. You can go like do like a plural site video. There's a couple of YouTube videos that might teach you some stuff. I think Treehouse, I found a really good podcasting tutorial video set. I think it was on treehouse.com. But you don't have to spend a ton of money to get up and going, but just you have to spend a little bit of money to do it. So yeah, it wasn't super expensive to get up and going, but you need at least probably $200-300 to get the right equipment and just to make sure everything is set up and done well, because you need a website, you need a hosting service. Yeah, so just educate yourself, take the time to do your homework is what I guess my best advice to anybody that wants to start a podcast.
Most definitely, yeah. I have to say the same thing. So that's awesome. Now, I know being a podcaster and stuff, it's hard to. There's so much board game content out there, but are you listening to any good board game podcasts currently?
I jump around actually. I do listen to board game podcasts. I really like Board Game Blitz, the Dice Tower, of course, because I'm part of the Dice Tower network. The Party Game Cast, featuring the Party Game Cast, about podcast about party games and games you take at parties. I really enjoy them because they're just funny, original content. Bruce is just a fantastic human being, and I try to listen to a lot of podcasts that are not board gaming, because I heard long ago a quote saying, if you want to learn to write a good comic book, don't read comic books. And I kind of took that to heart. And as far as podcasting, I believe if you want to create a good board game podcast, don't listen to board game podcasts so much. So lately, I've been listening to a podcast called Under the Influence, and it's all about advertising. And it's fascinating. You can find it CBC Radio. It's a Canadian radio podcast, but it's pretty easy to find on iTunes. But yeah, Under the Influence, you should definitely check that out.
And it's all about marketing, you said?
It's all about marketing and advertising. And I know that sounds really boring, but the host is a master at just finding interesting facts, telling in compelling stories, and the way he puts the podcast together just makes it super entertaining all around. You cannot listen to an episode and not learn something cool.
Awesome. I'll have to give it a listen. Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. And now, we don't want to keep you all night, Flip. So, minus coming there to your hometown to stalk you, how would people go about keeping up with you?
Well, yeah, you could find me on the internets. I do live in southern Maine, so if you're in the area, hit me up. Maybe we can get together in game. I've actually done that before with podcast listeners. But yeah, you could. I have a Facebook group for my podcast. You can find it on Facebook. You might have heard of that website. I have a Twitter. It's at FFSSBG Serial. Also have an Instagram, the same address, I believe. And we also have a BGG guild. So if you go to the BGGs, just search for the FFSS Guild and you will find it.
Awesome. And if you get me those links, I'll make sure I put them in the show notes so people can easily find you. But I would definitely recommend that they jump on over and listen to your Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial show sometime. Oh,
Yes, congratulations. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
most definitely, if I can remember. Was that, speaking of long names, was that party game podcast you listened to? That's a little bit longer than yours, isn't it?
You mean it's been around longer? Yes, it's been around longer.
The title? No, the title.
Well, the title? Yes, I actually sat down and I measured it out. But yeah, it is. Bruce was very smart. It's a great marketing strategy having a long name sometimes. But yeah, technically, his name is longer than mine, but it's not like it's a competition. We're good friends.
Oh boy, is that the longest one, or what's the longest one out there? Do you know?
Yes, I will. I will boast right now that I have the second longest name in podcasting.
And you're second?
That's right. I mean, you can find us on iTunes, all the different podcast grabbing places. You can also find us at boardgameserial.com.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. So definitely go ahead and search it out there for Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial. There, yeah, it rolls off the tongue. Awesome. And just click the link on our show notes and it'll take you straight over there as well. But yeah, I really appreciate it, Flip, you coming on and getting geeky with Game Relief with us to talk all about your podcast and gaming in general. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it too. And right back at you. It was a blast having you on my show. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. You too. Wow, Flip, it's been a while since I had you on the show. Well, not necessarily because you're on the show right now, but a while since we interviewed. But I really enjoyed sitting down with Flip from Flip Floreys Super Saturday board game serial. If you haven't checked out his podcast, I definitely go give it a listen and see what you think. Not sure when I'll show up on there, but hopefully you'll check out that episode as well. Now, let's take a stroll to Kickstarter Corner with none other than Batterina Leaf. Where are we going, Batterina?
Kickstarter Corner!
Did you catch our Gridopolis episode? If not, pause it right now and go back and give it a listen. We'll wait for you. What'd you think? Yeah, me too. I loved it. Just a bit about it. Gridopolis is the winner of 4 Game Design Awards and 2 educational honors. Gridopolis is the world's first multiplayer 3D strategy game and system. Gridopolis is fun and easy to learn, featuring rules from classic games you already know, except now we're in 3D. The game is dynamic, all players get extra parts, letting you build during the game. Yes, the 3D board game is always changing. The system is modular, 7 simple parts, infinite creativity, use one of our designs or create your own. Gridopolis takes space-age play to the table. It's a 3D game that feels like something people should have been playing for centuries, says Jeff Pavone from Blog Critics. Jump on over to the link in our show notes and back Gridopolis today. If you do it through our link, we get a kickback. We thank you very much. The king has gone mad. Well, madder. He's throwing people into the dungeon left and right to try to uncover the conspiracy to unseat him that surely exists. As his favored crew of dungeon keepers, torturers, and psychopaths, your job is to turn the screws on these unfortunate yokels and get them to confess. The best torturer will be awarded the title of head warden, and the rest, well, best not to think about it. Did that sound familiar to you? Well, good thing I'm here then. It's a story of Talk, You Fiend. Talk, You Fiend is an easy-to-learn, blind action game for 3 to 6 people, with an average playtime of 30 to 45 minutes. Apply a bit of pressure, or a lot, we won't judge ya, and outsmart your fellow jailers to score prisoners, and leave your opponents with the stinging shame of failure. Collect sets of prisoners to score points, avoid shame and demotion, and gift your friends with the worst known liars in the kingdom. Talk, You Fiend is a torturously fun time for ages 10 and up. A few important points the guys over at Stone Bones Games wanted me to bring up to you for sure is that Talk, You Fiend is a game that is easy to set up and start playing. Rules are simple to explain. That sounds like my kind of game. You know how much I detest learning new games, or have a hard time with it at least. So that sounds pretty cool. And then next they said, it's a great way to start off or wind down a game night. Somewhat light game, but with a little bit of strategy involved, if you take the time to really think about it. Oh boy, this is what we need. Another game my wife can beat me at. But I like to play games, so this really looks like a great game for us. Last but not least, what the great designers over there at Stone Bones Games had to say was its whimsical setting and art. You are playing as a dungeon keeper and just trying to do your job. The best to get that promotion. So, what do you think? You're not sure? You don't want to make a decision yet? Well, don't fret. Next week on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf, we're going to have the designer and publisher on our show to talk all about Talk You Fiend and why you should add it to your collection. So make sure you subscribe to Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf so you never miss an episode. Make sure to head on over to their Kickstarter page in our show notes so you can become the best torturer in your game group with Talk You Fiend. Back it on Kickstarter today and make sure you catch my interview with the creators. We'll see if they can make me talk. Begin your journey as one of the 5 basic classes and battle your way through a branching campaign where you choose your own path in an attempt to overthrow the evil queen, Domine. With each encounter, you will level up and unlock over 15 elite classes, adding new actions, equipment, and abilities. Will your team find the right combination of classes and powers in time to stop Queen Domine? Let the adventure begin. Sound familiar to you? Well, good thing I'm here. This is Adventure Tactics Domine's Tower. It's an encounter-based, campaign-driven, cooperative deck builder. You know, Gamerleaf loves deck builders. That launched to Kickstarter on the 29th of July, as well as blew past their almost $30,000 funding goal on the same day. This isn't your everyday board game that looks like an RPG, as you don't have to stay stuck in the same class over and over again, but you still get the benefits of the previous class. But I'll let the game's designer tell you more about that. Make sure you catch my sit down with Nick, the designer. Sure to hit your favorite podcasting app on Thursday, the 1st of August. So make sure you subscribe to Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf, where you catch your favorite podcasts. And if this is after the 1st of August, make sure you come back so you don't miss out on the adventure. Back Adventure Tactics today. If you liked any of the games we talked about in today's episode, make sure you check out their Kickstarter campaigns to show them and us a little love. Backing them goes a long way. Plus, make sure to stay up to date on all the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. There will be at least 2 to 3 new giveaways going live over there next week. It's our least favorite time as well as yours. So until next episode, make sure you go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in the geekfold by sharing our episodes with others, as well as keeping up with the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. Gamerleaf out.
Gamerleaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamerleaf's luck holds up.